All right,
Got it.
guys and girls. So, my name is Aaron, and we have here.
Ben?
Yeah, feel free to talk, dude. Like, this is supposed to be the shit talking one. And we are launching a new segment called Bros with Brains. Now, originally, I was thinking like brawns and brains and just let the people decide which one's which. Like, it'd be interesting to
It's not
see.
neither.
Well, I was going to say, it'd be interesting to see what the people like suggest. It's like, yeah, Ben can be the brawns because he's bigger, and Aaron can be the brains. But then it's kind of like, well, Ben's the guy who does psychology. Aaron does nothing.
Trust me,
So it's kind of
most
like
of that class does not require brains.
Yeah, well, I was going to be like, well, it's like, what does Aaron do? He just trains and puts up content for the sake of it. I really only do one set and then post it on Instagram. I don't actually train.
Yeah, one set, best set, get out.
Literally, it's just for the gram. Otherwise, what's the point? But anyway, man. So apparently, you had leg day today.
Yes, before fucking a podcast, which was apparently not the best idea ever. When you're trying to come home and like eat and not feel like crap.
Yeah, what did you train? Well, I only asked because we're not in gyms yet. Like down here in Melbourne, like we're not in gyms until tomorrow. So, whenever this releases, hopefully we should be in gyms. But until then.
Oh yeah, you guys are getting lifted now, right? They're giving up.
Tonight, yeah, I don't know. Apparently tonight from midnight, gyms can open. You can have one per 4 square meters. Fuck's fine, bro.
Good luck with that on equipment.
Yeah, I mean, really, when you think about it, like people that train, it's like unless you're training with someone, you don't really you don't venture too close to people in a commercial gym.
I know, right? Yeah,
like it's very rare. Yeah. I was thinking that. I was like I'm not going to go up to someone and be like, I need that machine. Can I work in? Or like, I'm just
Can I spit in your mouth?
Yeah. I mean, that's not the sort of gyms we train at. I don't know about you, bro.
Us Queenslanders do things different.
Yeah, fucking fair call. But yeah, what did you train? What did you do? Tell me. Make me jealous.
So we literally just came out of a cut block, so I've gone straight into strength block this week. Hypertrophy block. So we've gone through a new phase, a new programming. So Dalt's had a few changes to things, which look interesting, but a few differences to leg days. So I've got back-to-back leg days, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, but it's just a change in frequency and volume. So similar exercises, but it means I get a little less tendon flare up on the quads and stuff as I'm using them. Yeah. Give it a rest between the day and then come back and use it again without being too fatigued and actually get some food in. So it seemed to work.
Right. So wait, do you have 2 or 3 leg days? 2 or 3 leg days in total? You have 2 or 3 leg days in total?
3 in this program.
Yeah, I was going to say, fuck, 2 back to back, and then like that would be it. That'd be brutal.
Yeah, no. 2 up front, then into upper, and then there's a 1 leg day at the back end of the week.
Yeah, cool.
Bit more hamstring work, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say you'd be doing like double quad and then hamstring or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. What are you doing for quads? Anything fun?
Yeah, actually getting back up on now the tendinopathy is easing, so I'm getting back to hack squats and belt squats, which are good. So
yeah,
getting some.
I was having this conversation. I really don't like belt squats. Majority of them, the way that they're made, they're really shit. Like, yeah, when you think about it, it depends on the way your belt squat's made. But like, with the actual belt itself moves around, sits around your hips.
Yes.
Does it attach? Does it attach in front of you, or does it attach below you?
Forward and down a little bit.
Yeah, right. So like that pulls like your lumbar into extension.
Yes.
That's why I don't like it. I reckon the pieces of shit. The ones that drop down have a better, obviously, like strength curve and resistance profile because it's like straight down, straight up, right? Kind of makes sense. But it's like those ones, and I don't know why. It must be cheaper to make them that way, right? Like to have the piece in front of you and like below you. I don't get it. I hate them.
Yeah, I find at the bottom of the movement, I get a little bit more wink than I usually would at a normal squat.
Yeah,
like, well, I have to actively fight against it to get to a decent depth, hold it, and come back up.
Like
as opposed to letting the wink kick in.
You have to physically put yourself in posterior and anterior tilt and pelvic tilt. You're like, the fuck? Like, I don't want to do this. This is shit.
Yeah.
Or like posterior pelvic tilt. So it's like, friggin', what's the point?
Yeah. It's I can isolate enough of my quads to be warranted, but at the same time, with the injury, I can't really back squat properly. So
yeah, of course. Like, no, yeah, you're subject to what
next best thing.
Like, yeah. No, it's just funny. I was actually having this conversation. Probably had this conversation like 3 times in the last 2 weeks, which is really interesting. It's just about belt squats. It's kind of like I was all for them. But as soon as I started moving back into like looking at physics and like actual movement and like a bit of biomechanics and kinematics and stuff, I was like, okay, like a whole new world looking at machines. It's like
Hold up.
it's like this is a piece of shit. It's kind of like we have I like here at Doherty's where I train, like we have a pendulum squat. It's a Watson pendulum squat. And Watson, the brand being the brand of brands. But it's like people don't realize it's a fixed foot plate. It's horrible. It's fucking horrible.
Oh.
Like all it needs to do is go like this, and you have all the variety in the world to make it so much better for a bigger clientele. But it's like they don't. It's a fixed foot plate. It's just shit. It's like these little minute
That's
details.
frustrating.
Very. I get very mad.
The pendulum squats are amazing. Like you can load up like what just to reduce shear load through your joints. You can do like 20 or 40 kilos. It feels like you're doing 200.
Yeah,
exactly. A bit of tempo work and you're dead.
Yeah, it's just these little things now coming back into like I feel like it's the old man in me just getting grumpy at useless shit. But it's like
Some kid rode past on a skateboard.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the equivalent of, but just being in a gym. It's like fucking like design the equipment properly, please. Like fucking one job.
Well, I mean, when you pay high end prices, like a lot of these gyms do for like rental agreements, you're hoping that someone with a brain is constructing them.
Well, yeah, right. Well, people building this equipment, it's like they're charging an arm and a leg for the equipment. It's like, well, did you really think about the actual mechanics of it, or not really?
If you charge the price of a Ferrari and your car's only like going as fast as a Mazda, you're gonna be like, well,
yeah, well,
I paid that price.
Yeah, it's just like people like with the name. It's just a brand name, and it's kind of like, bro, like you really fucked up. Anyway, yeah, but these things happen. Anyway, man, talk to me. What's been going on these days? What did you get up to on the weekend since you were allowed to go out and about?
Mate, actually, for someone who is as introverted as me, I did way more socializing over the weekend than I should have done ever. Like I actually had to like sit down and stop because I was so exhausted from it. So it was like, because I just booked in holidays from work and like, because uni goes back this week.
Oh yeah, that's right.
There was birthdays, there was seeing family and friends before they go away. There was like people at our place, like Isabel and Dalton, housemates having people over, and I get back from gym and I was just like, this is too much. This is too many people in a short amount of time. Like, that's it. I'm done. I'm good. For the next 6 months, I can just focus on uni now. I've got it out of my system. I've hit my quota. I've hit my like mandatory checklist of feel like I'm social enough to have relationships and friendships, and then back to life.
Yeah, it's like just overstimulated. Like I'm done. Believe that's it. Game over. I'm finished for 6 months. Leave me alone.
Contemplating just going to the movies by myself because I'm like, I just need to be away from people and just sit and like not have people in my vicinity and just be left alone for 2 hours so I can just honestly eat some food.
You're preaching to the choir, dude. It's exactly what I would do. Just literally go to
I mean, that's all you guys get to do at the moment, which is
I can't even, what are you talking about? We can't go to the movies. Nothing's open.
Well, that's fair.
It's like we have 1 of 4 reasons to leave the house, and movies apparently is not one of them. I'd argue that, but hey,
I mean, I don't know when you sit next to someone in a movie theater that's like on your hip. So
yeah, right. Well, it depends if you're going like to a really popular movie. I feel like I just picked the one movie. Like, everyone goes to the movies at night, so it's like go during the day because no one's going to be there.
Yeah,
everyone's either at work or at school or like busy living their life. Yeah, and it's like
that's why I pick my days off from work as a Wednesday, Thursday. Everyone's like, oh, like when do you get a normal weekend again? When do you like? When does your life go back to normal, mate? What are you talking about? I love this.
Yeah, this is great.
No one's anywhere. No one wants to do anything. Everything's open, and I'm just free to do it myself.
Exactly. Great. Right. Like go to the gym, no one's there. Living the dream.
Go to the beach, no one's there. Go to the library to study, no one's there.
No one's there. Exactly.
Go to the groceries, go to the shops.
Let's be real, no one's going to be in the library anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, doesn't matter what time I go to the QUT library. It's great. No one's there.
No one's there. No one's going to.
No, exam block, different story.
Yeah, that'd be right. Well, anyway, man. When do you go back to uni?
We are back this week, so my first subjects for this semester start Wednesday, Thursday. So I managed to score them all on the same day, which is good.
Nice. What do you got? Anything interesting? Any subjects that are interesting?
Actually, yes. Comparatively to the last semester, I'm actually looking forward to these ones, so it should be good. I mean, compared to social psychology, anything's interesting. So
cool.
I'm going to be doing developmental psychology and perception and cognition. So 2 pretty dense theoretical concepts, but pretty hands-on, actual applicable research and data as well. Like developmental, so we'll go through like Freudian psychology of childhood trauma, sexual trauma, and things like that. And go through Erickson's models. We'll go through a few other models and stuff as well as like attachment theory. So,
so
it'll actually be pretty interesting. See things of like, just those people who sort of everything's a childhood trauma. Well, it's actually not, but
Yeah, it's like you'd be
cool.
surprised.
If you want to think it is, great, but not everything has to be a trauma. Not everything is a victim mentality. Not everything has to be a problem. Sometimes just like the way you're raised did some things, and the way you weren't raised did some other things. Cool.
Yeah,
let's fix it.
That sounds very, very boring. I'm not gonna lie. Nah.
It's like, compared to social psychology, I was like, sweet, sign me up.
Yeah, that's fair enough. When do you guys actually move into, like, part of your degree? Do you do any practical work, like clinic hours or anything like that, at some point, or not really? Like, you have to like finish your degree and then do mentoring or something.
That goes as of third year. That's when we start approaching our honors. I was having a look at the other night, actually, in terms of like the pathways to move into clinical registration.
Yeah.
Very difficult. Holy crap. Like, did not pick the easiest pathway of getting a degree in my entire life. But yeah, so you've got the 3 and 2 option, which is your 3 years undergrad, 2 years honors. Then you've got your 3, 2, and 1, which is 3 years undergrad, 2 years honors, 1 to 2 years postgrad for your masters.
Yep.
That's with a specialty. So that can be with like clinical psychology, developmental psychology, performance psychology. That requires you to find someone in that field that's willing to host you. Yeah. So even when you have that degree, it's not like you can go and start your own business and be your own thing. Like, you have to go get your undergrad, go to your postgrad, then find someone who's going to put you on for your thesis hours and like your work, your placement. And then that goes towards your hours, plus your thesis for your masters, plus your proposal, and obviously the final psychology exam you have to sit at the end. So it's not exactly a straight line goal to have compared to some of the other subjects I've seen, or like other majors that sort of exist.
Well, it's like, who would have thought that they need to make you work for it when you want to fuck with people's brains?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, I mean, you just drop one word, person starts crying. You're like, come on.
I mean, if you ask Instagram, I'm like, everyone's a mentality coach or something. So I mean, that doesn't require any clinical degree.
Sure. Everyone's a psychology on Instagram. Everyone's a psychologist on Instagram.
It's just, hey, if you can put mindset in your bio, mindset coach, sold. That's it, done. Charge $200 an hour. Where to learn? That place with the thing. Okay, cool. So
yeah, that one. I learned from that person on Instagram. Oh, okay, cool.
I'm 24 and I know enough about life to
be a life coach.
Charge you.
Yeah, like 23-year-olds being life coaches. Yeah, okay. I remember when that was all the rage, life coaching. Like,
life hasn't bent you over yet enough, love, to be a life coach.
Yeah, exactly right, and probably never will bend you over enough. Let's be real. Like,
fair point.
Fair point. Yeah, like life coaching. Like, anyway, that was a fun little time in, back in the past when everyone was a life coach. It's like, yeah, what do you do? I'm a life coach. What's that mean?
It's sadly still a thing. Like, it's still.
I don't see it that often anymore. Maybe it's just the people that I follow on Instagram. It's like I don't follow, or I don't see like life coaching as often anymore, if at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I sadly think it's still enough of a thing. I just think like the algorithms enjoy the fact that we don't like it, so they just don't show it as much.
Yeah,
but
that's always handy.
The amount of people that still come up with, like, I'll see, like, it might add me because I might hashtag like health or mindset or something in like a post. And obviously that attracts, whatever, however that works. And you might get the odd person with like mindset coach or this or that. And you're like, okay, cool. So where did you study this? Because I'm 3 years in and I haven't studied mindset coaching yet. So, if you can tell me where you found this, that'd be cool.
Yeah, like, did you do a once-off 2-week course? Like, do they exist?
a weekend mindfulness course, and all of a sudden they're like a mindset coach.
Okay. It'd be more someone did like a yoga course for like 3 days, and it's like, oh, I'm a mindset coach now because my brain is functioning at a higher rate. I'm able to now take in more information.
I wear chakra necklaces, and I can tell you about life. Okay.
I'm now your life guru. That's what it is. It's not a life coach.
Guru. That's the big one. Yeah,
the guru, because you have to wear the chakra necklaces because
you got to stand out from the rest of the crowd.
Yeah, 100%. You need to have dreadlocks and stink. Like, otherwise, what's the point? If you're not doing it, if you're not doing it properly, don't do it. Let's be real.
If you're not going to scam people the right way, then don't scam people at all.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to scam someone, do it fucking properly. Jesus.
Yeah. Take them for everything. Stop being a pussy about it.
Do it like the rest of us.
I don't even study psychology.
Yeah, bad. It's like, I just make it look like I do, again, for the gram. It's just like training. I do one set for the gram to make it look like I train. That's it.
Exactly. I'll post the odd study so it looks like I'm researching.
Yeah, well, it's like all the selfies I put up. It's just, man, they're fucking photoshopped. You see my real ones. They don't look anything like the ones I put up. You know? Like, let's be real.
Do you even train?
Yeah, hard. No.
How's
Man.
how is training back in the garage?
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty freaking lucky. Like my garage setup is pretty damn good compared to
Yeah, it
probably
is.
a lot of garage setups. It's probably good compared to a lot of gyms. Let's be real. Um, but again, me being very picky with the equipment that I select, like that, my Nautilus Nitro pull down is fucking the bomb. And like I was
Mhm.
talking to my coach, based in England, and he loves the Nitro line from Nautilus, the brand. I can see why it's sort of built to perfection for the exercises that it does. And that
Mhm.
lat pull down is just designed so well that it's like once you jump on another lat pull down, it's not the same. It's like you can appreciate the other ones, but it's just
Yes.
it's not the same. So it's like he paid €2,000 or something.
Holy
I,
shit.
I paid 1,000 Australian bucks to have it delivered. So it's like, man, I'm living the dream there. But I do want to get rid of my V squat. Actually, I've got a vertical squat that I want to get rid of and change it over for a leg press combo hack squat. You can get the ones for home gyms. So it's
Yes.
like that,
Yep.
yeah. So it's like they've got the padding and stuff, and you just remove the padding on either side, depending on if you're doing a leg press or a hack squat.
Yep.
Um, and you can load underneath them. So instead of being at the top, for like a hack squat or a leg press, you set them out on the side. It actually sits underneath the tray, the sled. So there's like two
Yes.
poles that
Yep.
sit
I can
out, and you
imagine
can
it.
load it underneath. So the loading will be interesting, I think, in that aspect. But I just feel like a hack squat, like a good old fashioned hack squat, would fit, and it'll probably be better for when we get locked down again, inevitably. Let's be
Plan for the
real.
inevitable.
Oh, we'll get two cases at some point and we'll get locked down like Adelaide did. Though I still don't understand why they locked down Adelaide. No one does anything in Adelaide anyway. Like,
Does Adelaide exist the rest of the year?
like,
This is the
man,
first I've heard of Adelaide
they've
in
got
12
they've
months.
got what 1.2 million people only or something like that. They've got like nobody there, and it's like no one there does anything.
That's not
anyway.
Adelaide, the city. That's the entire state.
Yeah, like they've got nothing to do. It's like, what are you doing? Like, how did you lock down after two people got cases or whatever, and then it's like lock down the entire city, but no one's in the city anyway. No one's doing anything. Like, you didn't need to lock it down. Just tell the two people to stay home.
Yeah. Look,
Like,
the two of you who did venture into the city, just don't go out again for a while. The rest of
yeah,
you go back to your countryside. You're good.
pretty
You're
much
sweet.
just do what you're doing. Like, there's no fucking difference. Anyway, whatever.
We haven't had a case in 12 months. It's the only two people.
Yeah.
Probably fine.
Yeah, it'd be like Tasmania if they locked down. It's like, no one. When's the last time you heard anything in Tasmania? Like, nothing. It'd be the same thing. That's just like, bro, what are you doing?
And half of Tasmania is just like just grass and forestry. Anyway, just go live in there for a week. Just
Well, now freaking WA has a case or two cases or something because the boat that had to dock due to medical reasons or something, they came off and they've got two cases, and not fucking who knows. It's like, right, like the state that locked everyone out and locked it down for the whole time has somehow managed to get cases. It's like, good job.
Oh.
I know. It's one of those things, man. It's just fucking weird, but whatever. We just roll with it.
Yeah, I mean that it is the interesting thing I'm seeing. I think it's gonna have a big effect on bodybuilding, for instance, as a whole in the coming future. The disparity of comps and the uncertainty of like, is it going to go back on? What's happening? I think for a lot of those people who aren't as motivated or like intrinsically driven to compete just for the sake of competing, like we we love to be competitive, that uncertainty is going to start fizzling out a lot of that sort of vain motivation that people get from like it's an experience or that surface level, like people recognize I do it, therefore I do it because I get that appraisal online and that sort of thing.
Yep.
Which, let's be honest, there's a lot of those. They might win, not against it. Like, great if you win and you
of
low,
course, but yeah,
cool.
the reasons as to why they're doing it is a bit different.
Yeah, when those
that.
2 or 3 years go by and we haven't competed and there hasn't been comps, and I think it's going to have a big effect on that draw card. Like how many people, like it started rising, like popularity started going up because it became that fad Instagram thing to sort of expose yourself to eating disorders and disordered eating patterns and like starvation mode and that sort of jazz. So I think
it's still going crazy in America though. Like, it's still popular as shit and getting more and more popular. But again, they're effectively doing whatever they want to do. Like, I imagine as it was getting popular, but you're right, because we're so much more strict here in Australia. It seems as soon as there's a couple of cases, they lock it down, and then shows get cancelled or moved, and then they get moved, and then cancelled, and it's like, fuck,
yeah.
man, like,
and
then
you look at the cost, man, like the cost involved with supplements, the cost involved with coaching, your food stages, your periodization of like how much food you have versus don't have, all
like
those things
the
add
health
up.
of the health comes into play as well, right? Like the health of the person doing it. It's like, fuck, especially if they're enhanced.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
you can't go like, we keep saying like, one of the concepts we've sort of talked about a few times, if shows get cancelled, stay lean, go through the next season, we'll see how that goes. Like if you can stay in sort of that 10% range, we can bounce back, refeed, fill up for 3 months, then cut again, you're in a better position. But it's also the fact that you've got to stay within that cycle, you've got to stay within your food, you've got to stay that lean. And let's be honest, if you're a smart bodybuilder or a smart trainer, you're not staying that lean, wanting to progress and grow.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's like it's ideal to be lean to grow. However, how lean you are will impact how much you can grow. It's like, that's where I think a lot of people get it wrong. They're like, yeah, like lean bulk. It's like, yes, but no. It's like kind of, sort of, but not really. Like you need to be lean relative, sure, but you don't need to be like stage lean to grow, because then there's a whole stack of other problems you're going to be running into. But interesting.
It's going to be an interesting bounce back phase. I think coming out of COVID, even when it's sort of done, like state by state, as each in state uncertainty changes and goes back in, and lockdowns, and because the shows are run intervally across the states over season A and B, and then nationals changes where it is, and whether the higher up guys are running it and wanting to advertise it, so they want to be in a bit more control. You're going to have like a lot of uncertainty coming over the next coming years of the costs and the revenue that they're going to be able to generate to actually keep them going. I think it's going to be pretty difficult to recover from, especially when people start to lose motivation in wanting to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny because it's like, if you look at like Queensland, for example, as a state, it doesn't seem to be as bad in terms of lockdowns and all that sort of stuff. Like, yeah, you've had a couple here and there, but it's like, it's been quite random in the fact that the time that's been done, it's like, it's what you had a 3-day and a 5-day. It's like you haven't had weeks and weeks and months on months of lockdown. So it's like, if they're going to run shows, like you think the Queensland shows for all the feds would be pretty relatively safe, touch wood, right? Like, that's what you'd think. Whereas it's like Sydney, for example, like the WBFF show that was meant to be in July this month, and then got postponed for 5 weeks and then cancelled. So it's like, their shows would be interesting to see, because they're coming into season B, like September, October, really. Like IFBB October, I think, I can't remember the date off the top of my head, for Sydney, but it looks like, that may not even go ahead, because even if they come out of lockdown, let's say August, end of August, start of September, which is what everyone's rumored, apparently these rumors going around that they're going to be there till September, like how much time is it going to be till they open the venues and have people in? You know what I mean? It'd be interesting to see, because like they won't even probably be able to travel to Queensland, right? It's like, there'll be some sort of travel ban, or you'll have to go isolate for 2 weeks or some shit. So it's like, you can't compete in Queensland. Victoria, we're kind of stupid. We'll probably open our borders and let everyone come in, and we'll get COVID again. And we'll probably get locked down before the show even happens. So you know what I mean? It's kind of like, fuck. Queensland seems to be all right. Like, Queensland's going to be the bodybuilding capital of fucking Australia soon, if not it already is.
Yeah, well, I mean, originally I was under the impression there was like nationals was going to be coming up here. Gold Coast was going to be copping a bunch of shows, and then obviously, even if that is the case, you've then got the fact that states won't let people travel between. And I can't imagine, Parliament or the government, state government, saying anything like, "Well, you're a bodybuilder, you can go through." Like, it's going to be, they don't care about that. So the likelihood of actually getting up here without quarantining or without doing any sort of isolation and then getting to the show, it's like, why bother? It's just not worth the cost. You wouldn't do it in the first place. The 2 weeks you'd be locked up would be a waste of any conditioning you had or training. So how do you peak for a show with like isolation, uncertainty? So
you'd have to come into the state like fucking 15, 16 weeks out.
Essentially, you'd be prepping up here to finish off the show.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's the only way it's probably going to work if you're going to do it in that aspect. So basically, if anyone's prepping now and they need to go to Queensland, go now.
I'd apply, get up if you can, because
you'd probably have about 10 or so weeks for season B if you get there now.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, like, there are obviously the people who will train regardless. Like, we will all find a way to train when it's sort of what we do and who we are. The competition side of thing will always be there eventually, but I think for the people who sort of like it for the sudden hit of dopamine and that motivation of like gratification online, and the vanity side to it a bit more. You know, who do it for the stage presence and they get the cool photos and that sort of thing. Like I do it all this just to get some photos. I think we're going to see them fizzle out a fair bit in the coming sort of uncertainty period.
Yeah, no, fair, dude. Did you see the comp? Did you actually end up watching any of the Chicago Pro?
I got bits and pieces. I was like seeing some of the photos come through of Rolly was actually surprising. Not only was he
he didn't look good. I don't think he looked good compared to what I've seen at his best. Like he looked, okay, that's probably harsh. He looked good, but he didn't look as good. And they were really talking him up before the show. Like they were
he was coming through as that, like, not the underdog, but sort of like that big dog that was snuck in, and everyone's like, you know, Hunter had it before Rolly came on stage, and also Rolly announced his entry. Hunter had it after. Like it didn't make a difference.
The only one that I think put Hunter on notice in that show was Brett. Like there was really no one.
Yeah.
Like the only one that could challenge him. Like it was crazy. That side chest, not side chest, the tricep, side tricep pose is fucking ridiculous.
I mostly love the fact that his progression has been linear in the sense of like he took time to go classic at his younger career stage.
Yeah,
and then
which is a junior, wasn't he, or something? Yeah.
Yeah, like great physique even as a classic, but then to go, you know what, that's like not what I want to do. I'm going to taper everything I can now to go in opens. And he didn't just do 2-on-2. He went opens, like straight to opens. And that's like, oh.
Yeah, but I don't think people understand how hard that would actually be.
That takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of work.
I guess he's got the build for it, right? Maybe that was always the plan, because it's so funny. It's like, I guess, what's your opinion? Like you can get your pro card in any of the classes, and then once you have your pro card, you can compete in whatever class you want. Like you think it'd be like with a weight class sport down here, for example, like if you have to do powerlifting, if you compete at under 60 and you win, you know, state title, and you want to compete at nationals, you have to compete at under 60. You don't have a choice, like unless something happens. So it's like, well, you'd think if you win classic, you have to compete as a pro in classic.
Yes,
unless you win another pro card in open. So it's like you go back to being like an amateur, do a show in the opens, win your pro card as a you know, open or whatever it is.
Yeah, that would be make sense of it, but I guess they want to keep the draw card attention in the pro league anyway. So maybe like the bigger name guys who get to be pro from classic physique or what have you, then get to go on and be pro in the other divisions because they're already well known and have the name. Like Sadiq Hadzovic, he went from being physique to classic physique. Didn't do as well, I guess, whether he wanted to keep up with the protocols and the food and the training, or just didn't do as well as he hoped. Now he's going back to physique, but he's still got to compete at the pro level at both.
Yeah, but then you'd think, well, I guess on the flip side to that, well, if you have Bumstead, for example, you know, probably the most popular bodybuilder on the planet at the moment, like if he moved to open, you'd just be like, oh yeah, cool, like that's going to be sick to see. But imagine if he had to compete at an amateur show in the opens to qualify for an open pro card. Like that show, like the amateur show in itself would be fucking huge. Like,
you'd get such a big draw. Cool.
You'd get such a big draw card, like all the publicity for it. It's like, but there's no real con unless he lost.
Well, yeah, I mean, the judges wouldn't let it happen.
Yeah, well, either way, right? Like, even if someone was to come in fucking bigger or whatever, like that's what happens. But that's the whole point, and that's why you're going through the process. It's like, have you earned the right to be in another class? And it goes either way, like up or down. It's kind of like, you know, you get your open.
I mean, I didn't like Regan Grimes doing it. I think he washed himself away, lost too much size, didn't feel out as good as he was in opens, and I think he learned from that, went back to opens. So it's not always a win-win. Like if you change categories, it's not always going to work out for the best. So, I mean, he didn't do as well as he probably could have, or based on his structure and size, didn't do as well as he probably should have. He just stayed in opens.
Yeah, right. That's always interesting, like how those little things, little changes, nuances happen. Anyway, should we get to some Q&As? Because I've got a few. I don't know about you, but I got heaps.
Let's do it. Let's jump on to that.
Interesting. Let's have a look at what we got, because I have quite a few. This should be funny more than anything. Like, all right. So let's start with, should we start smart or should we start like stupid?
Oh, I reckon we just trickle them in, just answer them as they come.
All right, so I've got one here. Hold on. If I can actually read it, this would be nice. Okay, is estrogen something I should be worried about as a female?
Ooh. Ooh. Well, that depends. Are we talking menstrual cycles? Are we talking about, are you using PEDs? Are you?
So I think I think you're overcomplicating it. The simple question is, should you worry about estrogen as a female?
I mean,
No.
I'm going to say yes.
I wouldn't worry about it unless there's too much of it.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I mean,
or not
your
enough.
levels high?
Yeah, like it's a pretty straightforward.
You also
question,
have like,
yeah,
you
there's
have high test as well. I mean,
that's a female asking, is estrogen something I should be worried about as a female? It's like, probably not, unless it's too low or it's too high.
Yeah. Have you been checked? Are the levels too low? Are they too high?
Yeah, I think
otherwise, I mean, your general hormones are probably not that big a deal.
Yeah, right. I agree. It's just like, don't have to worry about it. Too high, worry about it. Too low, worry about it. In the middle, don't worry about it. Like, I feel like that's this. I'm a very simplistic person, so that's how I try.
Yeah, I think that like diving into deeper than that was what it is just going to be a fucking rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's like, well, which part of your, like, we have 3 forms of estrogen. Which one do you want to talk about? Like, no, we're not going to get into that. So fact or myth? Got to get protein in 30 minutes post workout, and why is it true or bullshit?
The old anabolic window.
That's always a fun one. I do have some actually really funny ones in here, I'm not gonna lie, but anyway, we'll get some of the serious ones out of the way.
Okay, so we're saying that the anabolic window is a serious question.
Well, I mean, I think it's a genuine question. Whether we want to take it seriously or not, another story.
I mean, early days when we've all thought it at some point. We've all thought that was a thing from the bro who told us.
100%. Who didn't have their protein shake? Like,
without understanding too much biology and anatomy, you kind of see the logic to it. Like, I just finished training, protein synthesis is high, my body's craving food, put something in, it's going to be far more responsive. But then it's like, okay, but then what about the rest of the day? Are you also eating an adequate food across the period of time that you need your windows to eat? Like, you're picking out the nuance of a fine detail, considering a bigger picture. Yeah, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the age-old sort of, well, the protein synthesis and MPS rates run over roughly a 3-hour span. So it's kind of like, that's why the whole eating every 3 hours as a bodybuilder became a thing as well. It's like, I need to eat protein every 3 hours. So it's kind of like, well, which one is it? You need to eat post-workout, or do you need to eat every 3 hours? If I eat protein an hour before my training session, I train for an hour, do I need to have my protein straight away? Can I go home, have a shower, wait, and then on the 3rd hour, eat? Sure, like, why not? It still works.
Are you still, like, and then simpler than that is, but outside of that meal that you're having for your post-training, are you still getting the calories you need? Say you're growing, are you still getting calories across the day to hit your targets to make up the calories you need to grow? Because whether you have a 1,000-calorie meal post-workout, but you're still in a 1,000-calorie deficit, is not going to be enough to grow.
Exactly right. So basically, protein post-workout, kind of bullshit. Don't need to do it, provided everything else is accounted for.
Pretty much. I mean, if it's simple for you to have a shake, great, have a shake. If that ticks the box for you, I mean, it's not a big deal. But I mean, for me, when I advise people or talk to people, especially in store, it's a simplicity and a convenience factor. Is the shake easy for you post-workout to get a meal in?
Yeah.
Yes. Cool. Then do it. If it's going to be out of your way and you're taking time and it's like a big problem, you've got to spend $200 on protein powders to get it done when you could have a meal after you're relaxing and sitting down and actually comfortable, then who cares?
Exactly. And then there's all those people, i.e. me, that can't eat as soon as they finish training. It's like, I don't know about you, dude, but like, if I have a hard leg session, like, I don't want to eat for 2 hours. I have to, like, literally drink. I have to drink. Like, I can't eat stomach food. So it's like protein shake after that, perfect, because it's like, I know I'm probably not going to get a full meal in anytime soon. So it's like, for me, protein shake straight down, and if I can down some carbohydrates, normally finish probably my Gatorade or my cordial that I quite enjoy. No, it's not fucking light cordial, sugar free. Like, fuck that bullshit. It's sugar. Like, I like it.
Mate, when you start getting into your show and someone says you can have diet right, you're going to suck them.
I'm not diabetic yet, so I'm going to consume all the sugar. So like, fuck you. No, sugar's not bad for you. Shut up. So it's like, I'll just down my Gatorade or my cordial, and I'm like, cool, got my carbs, got my protein, I'm sweet. Because
Yeah, I go through that phase, especially on like say today's leg day. It's first day with food back in my stomach. I had like a 1,200 calorie breakfast just to sort of start the day, because when I have days off and I'm busy, I find that I struggle to be as consistent as opposed to when I'm at work and I'm in routine and things are sort of happening. And so that still was sitting in my guts a bit. Training hack squats at a bit of tempo plus increased weight and volume was on the border of spewing.
Right.
Munging on some lollies mid-training, just keep carbs coming in, hit that window. Great.
Just before we continue, just for those that don't understand, munging means eating, snacking, just so we get it. Like Queenslanders, they don't speak English. But anyway, continue.
But anyway, continuing on from that, it's because most of the time I train at night, I come home, it takes me probably an hour to sort of settle in and get to life, because then I get my meals ready, I get my life organized, unpack my work bag, my gym bag, get more dishes and stuff into the dishwasher. I get life unpacked, settle. Then I'm like, all right, time to eat that big meal. Because then by the time that's done, my appetite's back in check. Parasympathetic system flying. I'm relaxing, de-stressing. Hunger's come back. Cool. Now it's time to eat.
Because then you look at eating in a de-stress state, because it's obviously a lot more optimal versus being in a stress state. But that's another conversation. Let's not have that one just yet. Because
I think someone wrote a book on that. I don't know who it was.
Yeah, there is a dude. I've got the book. I got to get it. Whatever. So another question. Okay, this one will be fun. Can Masteron and Primobolan be used together despite both being anti-estrogenic? Now, would you like me to take this one?
Oh, you can have that one. I mean, I'm a fan of Mast, as we both know.
So,
fan of it.
So apparently, because I have this unknown reputation of the drug guy. Who knew? No, so it's not that they're anti-estrogenic. It's like they just don't bind the same way. It's like they don't bind to the they bind to the estrogen receptor, so it doesn't actually transcribe and it doesn't actually end up making like estrogen. It's different in wording, so it's like, I hate that word, but anyway, beside the point. So Masteron and Primobolan are effectively interchangeable. They're the same, kind of. Well, very, very, very similar, very tissue selective, run the same way. Most people, when you don't have one and you have the other, you just use the other. And
we've had that conversation several times where it's interchangeable of context. You just is it available? Right. What's the dose per mil you might get? Is it simple to just go swap in and out? Is it cost effective? Which one's better? That's it.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's like for me, like I've used both, and the only reason why I used Masteron this time versus Primobolan was because I couldn't get Primobolan. It's like, well, interchangeable. So
toxicity level differences?
Not that I've seen in the research. No, not that I've really actually seen. So they're very, very, very similar, very identical in the way that they operate, the way that they tissue select.
So
it's like
you wouldn't use both at the same time. You would easily just interchangeable one.
Yeah, if you use both at the same time, it's kind of redundant, just like a waste of money. So pick one and then load, and go from there, I guess. What else do we have? So this is one that's actually directed at me, but I wonder if you get this as well. I didn't speak to you for ages because I thought you were too serious. Are you? Do you ever get that, or is it just me?
I've had it.
I get that. I get that fucking a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Especially when I'm at comps and shit. It's like people like they'll message me afterwards. They're like, "Fucking congrats, man, on your lifter. Like, did so well. Sorry, I didn't say hello." I'm like, "Why didn't you just say hello?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't say hello. You just look real serious." I'm like, yeah, because I probably was.
Context speaking, yes.
If I'm at comp, it's like I've got a lifter going, and probably something that actually this is probably the first time I actually admit this on any public sort of forum that I've never really admitted to. Like I have severe social anxiety, diagnosed.
I didn't know that. We haven't spoken about that before.
No, we haven't at all. Like severe as shit, to the point where it's like if you ever now see me at a comp and I'm sitting by myself, there's probably a reason, and I'm like this half the time.
It's a choice. It's not about friends.
It's like I'm sitting there because I'm like this in between lifters and attempts and shit. So it's kind of like my lifters know that, thank God. Like they're really good. They know when to sort of come and they need to see me, and when they don't, we're all over the top of it. But yeah, generally I'm like this because I don't know many people. I don't like being in situations where I don't know people. So I'm kind of like, I don't do too well. So yeah, there's a good chance I probably was serious. It's like my form of resting bitch face. I apologize, but please feel free to come say hello. Like, no, as you can tell probably from the podcast, I'm really not that serious at all. That's good.
Deviate from that question. How do you go about initiating client sales and contacts and stuff in terms of like breaking that barrier down? Like when it comes to initial conversation?
Well, it's great because most of my inquiries come via written form. So it's like either via email or via message. So it's kind of like, well, I don't need to worry about being in a social,
Yeah,
in a
we
social
can keep
setting.
distance here.
Yeah, well, it's like I have this great barrier in front of me. It's kind of like, well, I don't have to actually see, but even having like a Zoom call isn't as bad for me, especially if it's one-on-one. One-on-one's all good.
Yeah,
It's like when it's like a mate will invite me to a wedding and I know two people, my mate and probably another mutual friend, and I don't know anyone else. When I'm sitting there like, I don't want to get drunk because fuck knows what's going to happen. And I just really want to go home. Like, when's it acceptable to go home?
When's the social window hit
Yeah,
where it's like, right,
is it is it as soon as they cut the cake I can leave, or like I'm not sure. like I'm lucky. Like one of my good mates, luckily Ben Scott, like I'm pretty sure you know who he is. He like he had his 30th a couple of years back, and he knows me. Like I handled him for like so many comps, and he knows that like my anxiety is bad. And it was his 30th. I knew at the time my partner that I was with at the time. I knew him. I knew his partner, and I knew one other person.
Oof.
Literally, that's it. And his dad. Sorry, and his dad. So it's like I knew a couple of people, but again, everyone's conversing with everyone else, right? Like it's his family, it's his friends, like they're all going to talk, and it's like, yeah, man, like go do it good. Like, and he'd always come in and check on me. He's like, bro, like you good? You good? I'm like, yeah. And then as soon as he gave the 30th speech, he comes to me, he goes, bro, you can go. Yeah, he's like, he goes, go, and I'm like, legend, bye.
I can check out.
Fucking took off. and he knows, like he just knows. He knows. He's like, nah, bro, like, I'm not offended. Like I know you struggle. Like go. I'm like, done. I'm out.
Dude, I do it. I find it with like Isabel and Dalton. Isabel is the most social person I've ever met in my entire life.
Yeah, right.
I cannot, and not in a negative way of her. I can't stand it in the sense that I'm not that way. So like I have to force myself when we're doing something, or she's brought other people, or like we're having like they host dinners and stuff, and love it, great, because I'm friends with their friends. But at the same time, when they bring someone new or they bring someone different, I'm like, do I have to tone down the Ben level? Do I have to tone up the social acceptable conversations? Do I have to tone down the drug and training chat? Do I? How do I navigate this?
What do I do with my hands?
I don't do with my hands.
Can
I yell at people yet? Am I in a social situation where I can make dead dad jokes yet? I don't know, but I'm going to anyway.
Right.
And it is like it gets that way. So I'm just like, I don't like. I have like, she said something to me the other day where she's like, okay, who would be your top 10 friends? I'm like, I don't have 10. Like that's not a negative thing. I don't have 10. You're giving me anxiety trying to think of 10 people.
Yeah. Like you think I know 10 people? Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
You know me?
Give or take conversations I'll have with people hands down any day of the week on Instagram or something about like psychology, philosophy, training. Actual friends that I go and see, I keep to a minimum. For good reason. But I'm like, I don't have 10. And she's like, we'll be a 10. No. I mean, it's a choice. I choose it. But
I give you top 3. That's all you get.
Yes.
You're negotiating.
Like,
I'll give you top
3. I do get it. I've had a few like, because if you go by say Instagram, or especially like now Matters up and running, if you go by that degree, I love that stuff, and I'll talk about all that until I go blue, and the sense of like being serious and discuss it, and I'll get into like intellectual conversation, just because I love it doing it so much. But give or take these interactions, like most of the time we're just talking shit, or like
100%,
just having a laugh and like cutting crap. When it comes to training, however, especially if I'm in like deep cut mode and I've got no energy, no fuel, I'm saving all my anger and frustration for top sets. Like
for sure.
Don't judge me on that in terms of personality, because, well, I look like I want to murder someone and probably do. But yeah, the problem is when you see only us at the gym and then you're like, you look really like pissed off, or like, I didn't want to talk to you because you look like you wanted to hurt someone. I'm like, well, in my head, I was hurting someone, but we won't talk about that.
It's like in my head, it was you.
You looked at me funny one day, and
all right, we've got still a couple of good questions. It's kind of like, man, we could just do an entire segment on just fucking questions. But yeah, this is an interesting one, because this is from one of my clients, bit older, TRT, fucking love him, is jacked as shit. Why are Olympic lifters sniffing something, ammonia ? Before lifting? This will work to your little salts. Like this will work to your little arousal thing.
Peak arousal. That stimulation, that smell, the olfactory buzz hit the nervous system in the body. I mean, it's it literally is just an arousal sense. Like that's from what I've experienced with it. Some people don't like it. Some people don't even like can't handle it. But it's that instant sting and like burning almost sensation that just wakes you the fuck up, and you're just instantly just like, oh shit, like I have to do something now. Is it actually arousal based? Like, is there actually? I've only used it a handful of times, but is there actually a stimulant in there?
I assume so. Ammonia is a stimulant from memory.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Don't quote me on that, but I got a feeling it was. I haven't looked into ammonia, to be quite honest. It's not something I'm interested in because it's not something I use or like I endorse using, because from a powerlifting standpoint, from a strength-based like hypertrophy standpoint, like this, by the time you sniff the ammonia and probably get onto your piece of equipment and start your set, it's probably very short.
Yes.
Like, you know, like unless you're setting up for like a hack squat maybe, or even a leg press where you got to fiddle around. But like if you're going to sniff ammonia for a leg extension, which I don't know if people do that, but hey, like maybe I'll try it. But you know what I mean? It's kind of like the period in between is pretty short. So it's like, well,
yeah,
it's still, the effect is still there. But like in a powerlifting competition, I don't know if you've actually been to a powerlifting competition, but like a lot of people do them for, let's say, squats. Man, by the time you sniff the ammonia, walk onto the platform, walk under the bar, set yourself, stand up and get the squat call, the effect of the ammonia wouldn't be non-existent unless you're somehow like putting it on your nose and leaving it there in your beard or something.
Bit of Vaso cream on your nose. You
or literally do the old school fucking Vicks Vapor up and just put it in your fucking beard. Like otherwise, what's the point? I don't get it. And I have this conversation with so many people. Like people are like, yeah, it just gives me a buzz. I'm like, yeah, but by the time you get to your lift, there's no fucking buzz, bro. Like,
yeah, there's no way you're maintaining that level of arousal by the time you get it ingested. Like, yes, nasal ingestion is a very fast, efficient way of absorption. Like, there's no doubt about it. But at the same time, you would have to assume the half-life of that stimulation effect is not going to last from you sniffing it, then setting up, then executing.
Exactly right. That's why I don't understand why people use it.
I mean, I know of it, and I've seen the people who use it, and I've seen constant videos of it, and like even bodybuilders might go through like a deadlift block and stuff.
Yeah.
Say you're doing a hypertrophy block of deadlifts, you're doing like sets of 12. You see those guys who might do like 200, 300 for sets of 12, whatever. They're big dudes, cool to them, but you're not sustaining that arousal. It's more a placebo, I think, of that you're sustaining that arousal.
Yeah, which again, which I'm not against. Like I'm not against placebos, man. It's like if they work,
not at all.
Like if they work, they work. Do what you got to do. It's like, if you want to say that they actually like do something, probably not.
Yeah, it's got to be a like to get into arousal state. Chances are you're already there anyway. You're just using a trigger point. Like if we look at anchoring and emotional triggering, fair enough. Like you could say you're so used to ingraining that into your setup, your structure, and your execution. The body goes, cool. When I do this, I know it's time to execute, and I'm going to do something hard and heavy and strenuous and stressful. So I better be in peak mode to do it. Yeah. That memory recall and that emotional trigger and emotional anchoring is a form of arousal optimization. Like we can use those techniques. So rather than in and of itself, I think the effect of the drug being beneficial, I think it's the process of building up to utilizing it and executing that's sort of triggering your arousal state.
Yeah. That's what I don't agree. I think they're stupid, but whatever. Like, unless someone gets it like on their nose and shit, which is fucking hilarious to watch.
Oh, imagine Epsom salt's just
well, that and it kind of looks like you've done a line of coke, and you're like, like that would be more effective.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if that's what you want to do, like, I won't, question. You do you. But, like, I mean, at least it's effective, right? So the older the athlete, the more minerals, etc., we need to increase, gain better performance. That is the question. I know the question's not really in English, but I'm sure you get what I mean.
Right. So mineral deficiency as age increases?
Yeah. So basically, do you need more as you get older?
Intriguing question.
Yeah, like,
I mean,
so it's funny. So when it comes to vitamins and minerals, so like again, like micronutrients and that sort of stuff, sort of fall in the same category. You don't get browning points for having more than needed.
Yes,
makes sense. Now,
yes,
as you get older, your NEAT tends to decrease. So as a byproduct, everything around your NEAT decreases. So metabolic efficiency, metabolic output, metabolic flexibility, like they all tend to decrease, not because you're older necessarily, like
because you're doing less.
yeah, there's a little process because obviously like bone density changes, muscle changes, like muscle atrophy and all that sort of stuff. You can't help that with age because the whole.
But we know muscle tissue does very little in overall neat expenditure.
Yeah, exactly right. It's like we know from a biological standpoint, as you get older, the idea is you get smaller, so you use less and less, so you live longer. Like that's sort of the basics of biology in humans. And if you didn't know that, you're welcome. That's why we fucking shrink. Like as we get older, that's why if you're bigger, you tend to die earlier. Pretty straightforward, right?
Shocking.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's really logical, but I feel like it's a point a lot of people don't understand or even know. But it's like that's from biological standpoint.
Health at all sizes, bro.
Yeah, don't start. Don't fucking start. No, you cannot be healthy if you're fucking fat. Shut the fuck up. No, anyway. So it's like,
and we got cancelled here.
Yeah, literally. You want to talk about cancel culture too? Fuck this. So it's like, with having more minerals, yeah, you may need to take in a little bit more because you're doing less. So it's like you need to make up the balance. Now, do you get better performance? Your performance will decrease with age anyway. Can't really help that unless you're an enhanced individual that can potentially, but even still as an enhanced individual, performance decreases with time. That is life. It's kind of the beauty of life, death. If you want to get really philosophical on this.
We can to a degree. There has been some research done on improving motor skills and neural flexibility in the sense of, let's say things like dementia and things like that. We can offset that slightly in terms of using your brain, using your nervous system, keeping it active. So doing things like resistance training, hypertrophy, brain work. So like one of the issues with a decline in brain cognitive function seems to be that people do less thinking work as they get older. Obviously, like you hit that relaxed mode post retirement, things like that. You get a lot less connection because you're using something less. The body atrophies. If you don't need something, it gets rid of it. So if you're going to do nothing, well, then the body's going to go, cool, I don't need this brain working as hard. Like,
we can
utilize it. Yeah, exactly. So, to that degree, being active and stimulating things and still actually using your brain, using your body can offset it slightly. But yes, to a degree, like once it's a part of that. It's a part of life. The cells degenerate. We get less active. We atrophy things. We get less efficient. But like you said, more doesn't mean healthier, or more doesn't mean brownie points. And I'm going to live an extra 20 years because I have more vitamin B6.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just, again, balance, as frustrating as it is, and as simplistic.
Do I just hit the optimal level? Really, just hit the amount you need. That's it.
All right. This line of questioning. This one's fun. This is going to be good. So, best excuses you've heard from clients not hitting macros.
Best excuses you've heard for clients not hitting macros.
Now, I've got one really good one, but it's a completely legitimate excuse. So it's like, I can't really like knock it. I get a photo at 3:00 in the morning from a client who's in hospital. I'm kind of like, I can't. You do you, bro. Like, what can I do? Like,
did you track your food? Where did you pre-make your meals to go to the hospital?
Like, are you allowed to eat like in hospital? Can you track the meals that they give you? Did you take your food scale? Because if you didn't, go home and get
it.
Hooked up and attached. I don't care.
Because if you took yourself and didn't take your scales, then that's your fault.
Yeah, I was kind of like, you know what? I got nothing on that one. Like, cool, fair.
We'll let that one slide.
Yeah, like I'll allow them.
I think the interesting ones is like things like there was nothing around that I could track or that I could eat. I think to a degree that starts becoming lazy. The worst case scenario, if say you go have a KFC or something like that, one of the methods Dalt uses, for instance, is some donut shops, right, don't have their exact macronutrients, but you can guesstimate roughly the weight, and you can look at, say, similar donut brands or donut concepts and go, all right, I've seen people lazy it and go, oh, a Nutella donut from Donut Time versus a Nutella donut from Krispy Kreme. One weighs almost a kilo, one weighs about 250 grams. The density is very different, so we're not going to use that as an example, but what you could do from that is go, all right, I can't find any weights or anything on Donut Time. What I can do is go, look, relatively, the Donut Time's heavier, probably about 2 times the calories at least on Krispy Kreme. Let's get the closest filled
Yeah.
Nutella, and we'll
Yeah.
go 2 times. We'll add
Yeah.
2.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
if you choose to underdose that, then I think you're looking for an excuse to have more food, or like you're just simply lying. But there are methods, and that's, I guess, an advanced technique of tracking food, but it's also pretty like logical when you look at it. But I find that to be a big one, is like, something wasn't there to be tracked. That's okay. You don't have to track that exact thing. We can deconstruct and reverse engineer the food or the thing that you had, and see as close as we can get to getting it and making that in your MyFitnessPal.
Yeah, well, or you can just now basically input what Dalton's been inputting in MyFitnessPal and just live the dream.
What's that?
You can put all the stuff that Dalton's been putting into MyFitnessPal and live the dream, all the foods he keeps putting in.
Exactly.
the 20% surplus or whatever it is. It's like, man.
Exactly.
Nice.
He's custom made them too. Like when in our programs now, like say I want to have donut time, or say I want to have pizzas or something. He knows my favorite pizzas are Meat Lovers from Domino's. So what he does is he has Ben, Dalton, Meat Lovers, Domino's, and that will be
right.
for me,
like
calories, and he's out of the 20%.
Beautiful.
Done. It's a reference for Dalton. Work, mate.
Yeah. Sorted. Everything he puts up, man, it's like, this is going to be bloody handy for people. I think I've referred a few clients to do it. It's like when they need to track, more so my clients in a bulk, more so than a cut. But it's like, if I want to track the closest thing to this, I'm like, well, actually, just type this in.
Flip the question. Clients eating out in a cut or a prep?
Yeah, it's interesting. It depends. So it really depends on the actual goal, time from goal, and how specific and how close we are to the goal, right? So it's like an example. It's like if I have a client that's weighing in under 80, 5 weeks out, and is 83 kilos. So 3 kilos to go in 5 weeks. Pretty straightforward. It's kind of like, go enjoy that one meal. I'll plan your calories. If I can get the notice in advance for that week, I'll
know where you're going to eat.
I'll plan the calories, or even not so much even needing to know where you're going to eat. I'll plan the calories around that particular meal. So it's kind of like, for this day, we're going to have an increased amount, and then every other day we're just going to have less for this week, just to make up for that one outing that you can have. Because like I'm not going to give like punishments. I'm not going to be like, well, you need to walk an extra 5,000 fucking steps, which I had someone tell me the other day. Someone prepping for a show ate some chocolate, and then their coach made them do 5,000 extra steps a day for like 5 days. It's like, are you fucking retarded? But anyway, I'm not good. No. Trying to be nice
piss off the entire bodybuilding community in one episode.
Well, it's like trying to be nice to the person and like, oh, okay, like cool. It's probably not what you need to do. It's kind of going to reinforce some really bad, like negative reinforcement type mental health issues.
Yes.
We won't get into that, but whatever. You do. Like, that's okay, sure. Like, the problem is, why did you feel the need to eat the chocolate in the first place?
Yeah.
But we won't get into that. But that's what I tend to do. It's literally just managing the macros and the calories around that particular meal. Now, if it's, spontaneous, it's like someone's partner's like, oh yeah, let's go get dinner. It's kind of like, yeah, well, I haven't done that. Let's go do that. Well, we'll try and pick the healthiest option possible, probably depending on the person, if it's male or female, but it's like probably the least amount of fat, maybe semi-carb, heavy protein.
Yeah.
Make it simple.
Choose the chicken burger breast over the beef patty. Get less butter on it. Control the sauces if you can. Yeah, something like simple as fish and chips. It's like, cool, get grilled fish, not battered fish. Like, these little details that will make a difference, over time. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like it really depends on the goal, where they are, how much time we have. See, interestingly to that, from a bodybuilding perspective, it depends on the conditioning and it depends on the period of time that some coaches attack it very aggressively. But me and Dot, we have the chat, starts getting like 12 weeks out, you stop eating out. Like that's fair. Like attend things by all means, like go have a soft drink, go have a Pepsi Max, go have a water, whatever, like go have a black coffee. Like I would go, in my first season I competed, I would go to like Sunday breakfast, like with my family, and you cop the crap, like, he's not allowed to eat, he's not having pancakes or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just here to have black coffee. Like I like black coffee. I drink black coffee every day. I'm just here mostly for the engagement, to say that I've seen my family. I'm not ignoring people.
I'm here for the time spent.
Exactly. So you guys eat, I don't care. But when it comes to conditioning, especially when it comes to uncontrolling fats, uncontrolling the methods the chef uses to cook, what calories you've had that day previously, beforehand, all that stuff. Getting to about 12 weeks out, you're sort of shutting down social events where food's included, especially if you're not coming in the most conditioned. just to control as many variables as you can, because
I agree.
You can estimate it, but
Yeah.
you've also got like one of the things we talk about a lot and tell our like Dalton tells his clients, I tell people all the time, chefs don't care that you're dieting. They want something to
100%.
taste good and they want it to make it palatable. So you'll come back and you'll tell your friends you enjoyed it and they know that you ate their food.
Yeah, 100%.
So
and
extra butters, extra fats, extra carbohydrates, sauces, that works. They don't care. They don't care that you're dying.
Literally, I completely agree. That's why I think it's like it's context as well. It's like a bodybuilder for a show, different to probably a powerlifter having to weigh in 24 hours beforehand. So it's kind of like one's got more flexibility than the other, especially
100%,
especially considering weighing in for a weight versus looking a certain way. Very different concepts. It's kind of like,
and the thing is, you don't have to cut stuff out either. Like we can still do like I would see friends like on a Saturday night, they'll go out, like if they want to go out, we don't do it much anymore, mid prep or mid cut, I'd be like, I'll come out, I have a Pepsi Max, I'll hang out for a few hours. Like it's technically a de-stress. Like I get anxious after a long period of time out because I feel like I'm meant to be doing other things. It's the way I'm wired. But in the interest of maintaining friendship, seeing people ticking those boxes and doing something different, I'll go have like a Pepsi Max or two. Like that's on me to decide. I have the choice to have a drink. Like I hate the dichotomy that people say, well, bodybuilding is restrictive. It's not if you understand it. If you have a coach, coaches should be telling you that you can choose to have that cake. You can choose to have that Coke or that rum and Coke. You just have to wear the consequences of what comes with that for your condition, your performance, your places, like where you land on stage. You got to be willing to accept that duality exists. Once you make the decision, that's it.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
But that's where I stand and have that understanding with Dalt very regularly, and people I've spoken to going through cast diets. Like, fair enough if you've got no composition goal, and it's just I need to lose some body fat, I want to lose some weight. You haven't got a show in 6 or 12 weeks time. Eat the fucking food, and then we'll just you could take 200 calories from each day for the rest of the week. Enjoy an extra 1,700 calories.
Completely agree, dude. All right, ready for the next one? This is a funny one.
Great.
Do you classify sex as cardio? And if so, how long of a session makes it cardio?
Oh, well, I mean, Mum always raised a sprinter when it comes to me, so
it's like, what are you talking about cardio? Hard and fast and done, man. Like fucking
exactly.
What is this?
What is this? What is this? That meme where it's like you burn as many calories having sex as a 5-kilometer marathon. Who the hell's running a 5-kilometer marathon in 30 seconds?
Yeah, hard. It's
not this guy.
If you're not first, you're last. Pretty straightforward.
Exactly right.
Like we're here to win.
Competition is everything at all points in life.
It's like, I am a high achiever. Do you not know me? Like I need to win everything, always.
If I didn't come first, why am I playing?
Exactly right. Like, again, not first, you're last. It's pretty straightforward, man. Like
from an actual technical standpoint, though, it does still there's several factors as to why I would consider, especially say for composition, sex as a great consideration for performance recovery, cardiovascular work. Your heart rate does hit the 130s, 140s. Like if you're depending on, I guess, on the context of it, you can get your heart rate up. So
are you telling me you've worn a chest strap or an actual watch to check your heart rate? If I were to say I've checked my heart rate, you've done that 100%. You fucking done it. You're going mid-session, you look at your heart rate, no, I gotta go harder. 100% you've done that. Look, he's not even lying, people.
I'm not even lying to you. I'm not. I gain nothing by lying. Yes, I've done it. But I mean, I didn't know these things. We're metric-based data collectors.
It was for science, so it's okay.
Exactly. But I mean, from a composition standpoint as well, the effects of endorphins, oxytocin, dopamine, everything that's going to make you feel good, de-stress and stimulate parasympathetic system.
Very, very relaxed.
Exactly. You're in a very relaxed state. All of that for 30 seconds work. Great. Do it.
It's 0 to 130 beats and done. That's it.
That's it.
Over.
Yeah.
That's it.
Someone probably didn't ask that question coming to get a scientific response on arousal systems, but at the same time, You're activating the stress response. You're going to get a sympathetic
like,
stress, then you're going to get a parasympathetic stress, and the body's going to feel good.
And just for context, it is dependent between male and female and who does more work at what period of time.
Like, I mean, if you're laying there, let's not pretend
we have to preface this. It's like, sure, like it's cardio for usually one and not the other. Like
if you're a dud,
cardio going on, yeah, like unless you're bringing in like a whole stack of accessories, maybe, but short of that, I don't know. But anyway,
I don't think starfishes burn many calories, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, like, I mean, well, I don't know. Like, yeah, I was going to say, you let me know when you know. Now, this is a really funny question. How awesome, on a scale of 1 to 10, is Ben's marketing lady?
She said to me that she asked you some questions and we were going to argue on this. And I was like, what the fuck is the question? She's like, I can't tell you. Good one. Real good.
That is the question. That
marketing.
I guess she's referred to herself as your marketing lady. Like that's her title, marketing lady.
Yeah, that's gonna be on a card. That's all. That's Outer Athletica marketing lady.
Not
that's
even.
All she gets.
It's not even. It's just Ben's marketing lady.
That's the official title. It's gonna be on the contract. Yeah. When I start doing this full time, that will be on the contract, and that will be marketing lady title. 10,000 business cards rock up with it. That's it.
That's it. That's what she's put on, man. So
I'm gonna get these polos and have CEO under mine or running director, and then hers will be Ben marketing lady.
BML instead of BL. Yeah.
I mean, that's fair. She wrote it, not me. I've never referred to that.
I mean,
but props are due where props are due. Very, very good.
So I told her you'd give her props, and she's like, nah, he's gonna give me like a -10. I'm like, no, he'll give you props. He's respectful.
I talk a lot of piss and I talk a lot of shit, but at the same time, for how my head works and how fast things go and how I want things to, like, I'm not a I want something here and now kind of person. I want to work for something here and now kind of person. Yeah. So in my head, when I think of something and I see the plan happen or see the plan in my head, I'm like, cool, I need to execute that now to make that as fast as possible. Yeah, I'd say it's borderline ADD, undiagnosed perhaps. But she keeps up well and does give me decent timelines, keeps me on track with things. Marketing is probably a very, what's the word? Minimalist title that she probably deserves. Yes. But at the same time, very, very good.
Yeah, I think her title is just lifesaver.
Yeah. I mean, that fits in there. That fits in there.
All-encompassing title.
Yes. By all means, like, it's a give or take relationship in the stimulation she gets from working creatively and being able to do things that she wants to do. Like I very much think she enjoys. It's not a type thing. The work is designed to be as exciting for her as it is for me, because it's a venture into something that I think she enjoys just as much and hasn't always had a chance to do. So seeing the results of the work she does, seeing the results of the work I do, means that the business as itself benefits and gets to be here faster than if either of us did it on our own.
No, fair. Basically, best props you can get, right? So,
but also she shit at her job and she should be fired. I'm not going to pay anything.
Now he's just saying that, like, fine. Told you. All right. Top 5 legal supplements for lifting.
Top 5 legal supplements for lifting. Oh, a supplement question. Interesting.
Well, I guess, like, for me, it's kind of like, well, legal where? Like Tren, Masteron, testosterone. Like, no? Okay.
Define legal. I mean, in the sense that they're referred to by a doctor or...
Yeah, like black market legal.
I mean, we're gonna go down that path. Okay, supplements that are actually beneficial to lifting in the sense of what I sell at the store and what is actually over the counter but applicable.
Yeah, I guess we could have prefaced that. Like, Ben does work in a supplement store, so probably the best person to ask.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the one thing I probably would say.
Like, hey, this worked out well.
Well, one of the things, I'm actually due to run a seminar coming up soon, actually, on supplements that actually are beneficial to optimizing results. So that's going to be interesting. I hate the name we have for what we do. I think there's a lot of people set up, I guess, given a bad taste in the industry, in the market, for what supplement salesmen are, or what we do can be like.
Mhm.
I apply a lot of ethics and value to the way I approach customers and their needs and the things that I suggest, and I teach all my staff to do the same thing. But I would rather sell to someone 3 or 4 ingredients or products that they need and are actually beneficial and have them return as a satisfied person and get results than to sell them 20 things, have them think that all that's going to work, none of it do the job they want, and then never come back. Yeah. That's the successful, that is a snake oil salesman, and the other is a salesman who cares. And I think that's a massive difference between the name we have in the industry and what it should be. I will preface with the fact that no supplement should ever constitute a full diet or should replace a full diet. The name itself tells you what we do. We supplement a lacking diet or a hole in the diet. No one has a perfect diet like that. That I'll also preface. Anyone who says they got a perfect diet, I would want to see their bloods. I want to see their markers. I want to see like what their diet is. I guarantee you're not getting every vitamin, mineral, and nutrient that you need. But in saying that and keeping it about training, creatine always.
Just the most
unless you're a
supplement on the planet.
Literally, there's no reason why not to take it. Basically, unless you're a powerlifter, let's stay away from that whole loading 20 milligrams a day bullshit, 20 grams a day bullshit. No. You don't have a power meet in the next 7 days. Your ATP replenishment and your accumulation of creatine in the muscles is more important over time. So let's just stick to 6 grams of creatine a day. Yeah. There you go. Sorted.
Literally a teaspoon in the morning with some water.
Yep, that's it. If I just prefer to do things as I'm already having 3 or 4 different shakes. Just put it together. Just put it together if I need to.
Straightforward.
3 to 5. Pre-workout in the right context. So pre-workout in the right context. If you know you have, say you're in a calorie deficit, you know you're energy depleted, you know you're hungry, you know you're lethargic, your lethargy's through the roof. In and of itself, even if I know people dismiss some of the ingredients because they're not human-based trials, we have some in rat studies, we have some in animal studies, but in and of itself, let's say it's a $50 pre-workout. Let's say you take that, and every single time you take that, you have the world's best sessions. To me, placebo is worth $50 if that's the outcome. Yeah. If you're gonna preface an entire session and you base your entire result on that you had a pre-workout, feels great. Your brain's gonna go, cool. Every time I have this now, I feel fucking good. Thing is though, some of those ingredients do actually work and do have benefits. Yeah. So getting the optimal arousal from caffeine, some of them contain creatine. I don't like them when they have creatine because I think it's a waste of space. You can just buy that externally, it's cheap. Beta-alanine, reduction in lactic acid buildup. So you're going to get greater prevention of fatigue. So you can train harder for longer. Mix that with stimulation. You're already going to get a better session. Things like citrulline malate. The fact that you're going to get a nitric oxide conversion and vasodilation means, again, more nutrients around the body, more vasodilation, more oxygenation to the muscles, less fatigue, better performance. All of which constitute a good session. So in and of itself, probably those individual ingredients into a pre-workout, great. Other things that I would probably recommend.
Protein,
fish oil.
Fish oil.
Fish oil. Generally, I find that people don't consume enough omegas or protein as itself, but fats from like raw whole foods. So fish oils at 5,000 IU generally tends to be the beneficial dose where you're going to get some lubrication of the joints, general health function. So I find that seems to be a pretty normal advocacy. Protein in general populations, purely because I find a lot of customers, and this is very anecdotal mixed with some like actual data, we underconsume protein for people who are new to training or just general life, don't get an adequate amount of protein. So if we think about it, let's say the general food guidelines we go by, 2 serves of fruit and cereal for breakfast. So let's say you have 2 serves of cornflakes and a piece of fruit like a banana or an apple. That's carbohydrates, minimal fats, next to no protein. Then you might snack at lunchtime, which might be, well, I'm eating healthy, so I'm going to have some carrot sticks or fucking whatever it is you have at like morning tea, maybe a cake or something if it's at work. Again, fats, carbohydrates, minimal protein. Lunch, you might go somewhere and get a ham and chicken salad. Cool. Maybe 30 to 40 grams of protein. Maybe if it's a generous helping of protein, which it probably isn't if you go into a general sort of store. And then what? We go to dinner. Dinner is probably going to be leftovers from the night before or something you cooked up, which may be like lasagna or a pasta or a chicken bake, or could just be toasted sandwich, whatever. Chances are to get that 0.8 to, or let's say you're a training athlete or you're a training person, that 1.6, 1.9 to 2.3 grams of protein per kilo, you're probably not getting. So in that sense, I advise protein purely for convenience and efficiency of consuming extra protein.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing. It's like there's a big difference between like the recommended daily intake of protein and then the protein taken in for performance or for training or for better quality of life. It's like the recommended daily intake is what, 0.8 of a gram.
Yeah, I've seen
Like
some studies suggest 0.8 of a gram.
Yeah, per kilo. So it's like it's next to nothing. But I think what people wouldn't understand or realize is that's just to sustain life. That's not to improve quality of life. So there's a difference. It's like if you just want to keep living, sure, let's round that up to a gram of protein per kilo of body weight. But you actually want to have some benefit from performance-based, whether it be, hypertrophy, whatever it is, like 1.6 to 2.2, 2.3, and then again, there's upper ends depending on your diet and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, there's a very big difference between that. And a lot of people probably don't understand or realize that.
And that's probably where, that's the basis of supplementation that you may need. Now we can branch off that and say something like a fat burner, for instance. I hate the term fat burners because they're no longer mixed with methamphetamines or speeds or derivatives. So you're not getting an actual direct lipolytic effect of fat loss. And now what you do get is a product that encompasses an environment to optimize fat loss and allow you to get better results. Appetite suppression, mood enhancement, cognitive benefits, increase in metabolic output via caffeines. Even like some of our products now contain 5-HTP. Amazing for cognitive enhancement as well as appetite suppression. Two massive problems for people when they diet. Stress increases the desire to eat foods, and emotions desire them to snack and return to habits that make them feel good. So having something like that for $60 for 60 serves that's going to give you a reduction in those effects, that's a win. It's a 1%er or a 5%er, but those 5%ers add up when you're on a 12, 15, 1,800, 2,000 calorie diet.
Yeah, for sure. Or simply just take clenbuterol.
I mean, if you're at that stage, you're willing to do it, by all means.
It does all the same things. Like, really, that's suppressant, improves lipolysis. Like, clenbuterol. Don't do that. People don't do drugs.
For people who don't do drugs, but that's what I would keep it to, nice and simple. Individually, I change it based on customers when they actually come and give us a story. But basics, very basic.
All right. So last question, and I was leaving this one for last because this could either take 2 minutes or I feel like 20. So I feel like let's try and not go too crazy. Got asked, are you going to take the vaccine?
I was wondering if there was going to be are we going to keep away from COVID in this conversation, or?
Man, there's no limits on this fucking conversation. Let's be real.
That's a fair point.
Again, it's personal to everybody. It's like, what we share is just our personal opinions. There's no actual science behind the vaccine that we could probably talk about or share, considering it's not our field of study.
So exactly right.
That makes zero sense to talk from a scientific perspective. For me, it's like, I don't do anything. It's like I stay home. I have a garage gym. If I go to the gym, it's literally like 200, it's 500 meters up the road. My life is very centralized in a 500-meter radius. I don't go anywhere. So for me, the way I look at it, there's so many people that want the vaccine that don't have access to the vaccine just yet. I'd rather them probably get it because they probably have more of a reason to get it. Not to say I'm for or against. It's more so priority, and that's not that high of a priority for me personally right now. But apparently Australia got a whole ton of Pfizer vaccines coming in maybe in February. I think I read somewhere. Where then I'll probably consider it, because I feel like the only real logical reason for myself, being a healthy 32-year-old male, or relatively healthy, to get the vaccine would be is if they open international borders and they let people in that have been carriers, have had it before.
The different international strains that come over.
Yeah, so I'd feel like I'd need to protect myself and my immunity in that aspect a lot more. I'd have a reason more to do it than currently where I'm in Victoria. They isolate us and fucking lock us down for 2 cases. So it's like, So it's kind of like, I will get it eventually. It's just, I don't have a real strong reason to get it right now, especially considering it's still in its trial period, even though the data is still there to show that it's, it's pretty harmless for majority of people. Yeah, it's kind of like, it's not so much of it's a risk. It's like I just don't need it. Like I don't get my injections at the best of times. Like I don't even get my flu shot.
Yeah.
Like, So
yeah,
sort
fair.
of the same premise.
Yeah. See, my thing is having been someone who's believed in medical science for many other reasons to date, it would be hypocritical to instantly dismiss this, having used medical science previously. The same methods have been applied, the same concepts have been applied, the same process of scrutiny has been applied. Yes, it's come through at a faster pace, but at the same time, it's based on the best medical opinions we have from people who are qualified in their field. I am not in a position to decide that an immunologist or a epidemiologist is not fit for their job based on my limited research and understanding of what things do. I watched my father go through copious different trials and things that were not even at the stage of human trial yet, but it was a ditch effort to get him better, and was like, right, this is a potential trial or extreme dose concept. Like I watched them utilize a flooding trial of chemotherapy through his system, utilize stem cells to re-inject his body and restart everything, then hit it again with a micro dose over a period of time. So that wasn't a trial method that had been done for a long time. It wasn't a sort of common approach, but it was a rapid response approach they want to try. I could be wrong on that. It could be used before, I don't know, but based on what we were told, it's not a common occurrence to go that aggressive with chemotherapy. So those are options that were presented to us, and we made the best informed choice. So to that degree, it's kind of hypocritical or contradicting to use medical science for any other thing and then decide that this is the one thing I'm not going to listen to it for. How do we get to that position? How are we sort of arriving here where we've used medical science for so many other things to fight off polio and SARS and the MERV and
everything else,
the Black Plague, all these other things that we've known have got to it. And then you see that argument, it's like, well, it's the speed they produce it at. Again, not an immunologist, not a virologist, not someone who even studies or that sort of area. But from what I've read about the process, it's because the world has united against a single common threat, and the agencies and the departments involved in funding research methods, applying to universities for tenders, the medical staffing who are available to study has increased tenfold because everyone's willing to work together on something. So it reduces the delay, it reduces the studies. The COVID virus isn't new, it's been studied before. So the research is already sort of there to study and break down and understand how we can treat it. So the usual process of like 10 years for a vaccine doesn't apply here because there aren't the usual hurdles that everyone has to go through to get their study funded and the research done. So the speed of it isn't really an issue for me. It's the, not to go down the fucking Patriot like route and all sort of stuff, but the forced demand to get it done, like it's starting to seem a bit heavy on me. Versus also, but at the same time, people are like, oh, they're going to track our passports and we've got to be told where we're going. And like, you can't go to some countries without showing that you've been vaccinated anyway. Like there's countries that have specific viruses you can't go to without being shown that you're vaccinated against it. So it's not new. It's not a new concept. It's just
the concept's there. It's just,
exactly. So, I mean, when it's more stable and suitable, and again, in a place of need where I might need it over someone else, I'll probably get it. This batch, seen some of the side effects, not a huge fan. But again, I mean, we can't expect them to be nailing it perfect. We all wanted the vaccine. We all demanded that, hurry up and get it out. Then it came out. Everyone's like, oh, you didn't do it right.
Yeah, we don't want it.
Well, what did you want?
Yeah, totally and utterly fair, man. It's just, I actually laugh at the sort of steroid junkies that are like, yeah, I'm not getting the vaccine, but you'll put oil that was made in a bathtub in your butt cheek. Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, I like it. I like where your mentality is at, you fucking moron.
Yeah.
Like, you're entitled to have your opinion, but sharing your opinion is also probably something you don't need to do.
Yeah. It is okay to say, I'm not educated in this.
Yeah, right.
It is okay.
Like, I don't know. Cool, man. Sweet. Awesome. Good to know.
Sweet.
Like, fuck.
What's your position on COVID and the vaccine itself. I don't study any of that, so I can have a theoretical conversation, perhaps use the information I've been given, but also I'm okay to say I don't know, because I don't know how virology works that well. I don't know how RNA works. I'm not anything to do with genetics or mutation. So, I can understand the social psychology of why people are hurtling against it and why they're launching towards their tribalistic beliefs of like, well, if you don't, like the false dichotomies that come with, well, if you don't get it, you're part of the problem. Well, if you do get it, you're part of the problem. So it's like, cool, we're resorting back to tribalism and very social psychological concepts. Cool, I can see that. I can give opinion on that. I've studied it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to have like the most aggressive opinion and like what have you on people who do or don't.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally just a personal opinion. It's nothing more, nothing less.
Yep.
It's very, very simplistic in that,
best I can give.
sense. Yeah, right.
Best I can give.
Anyway, that didn't take as long as I would have thought. I thought that was going to be a lot longer. I thought we were going to be here for an hour, but sure, that works well.
I mean, there's not that much to talk on it. The only one that I've got was a question on how do I spend more time or engage more time on my hobbies?
Ooh, that's a very good question.
It is a good question. More psychology based.
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, if I was looking at my hobbies, it'd probably be something along the lines of, is it like how high of a priority is it to me at any one particular time? So it's like, it's like, I guess because it is a hobby, maybe it's not as big of a priority, because it's a hobby. But at the same time, if it brings me happiness and brings me like puts me in a de-stress state, for example,
yes,
like that's always going to be fun as well. Like very, very necessary, very, very needed.
Yes.
Short of that, I think that's about it from me on that one. Pretty easy.
Yeah. I think it depends. Does your hobby align with your, like, I can look at it two ways. Is your hobby something purely for pleasure and joy? Is it a bit of fun? Is it just something you do to relax? There's a lot of research around blokes using hobbies to talk about mental health issues. Like we often do hobbies or things that can break down the guard between us to engage in conversation. So, there's ideas around blokes that do woodwork together that then use that as a way to talk and chat and relax. Is your hobby, I don't know, remote control cars? Is it drones? Is it reading comics? Is it going to the gym? Cool. If it's any of those things, great. Like if that's your hobby, the thing is schedule it. I think if it plays an important part in you relaxing and taking some time off life, then schedule it. Don't just leave it to a limb and be like, oh, I used to be an artist, or I used to be a dancer or a pianist or whatever, and I didn't quite get enough time to it, and life got in the way, and now I don't get to do it as much. It's a part of who you are. That we as people are not just designed and built to work and die and eat and sleep, and that's it. Schedule it. Take some time where you get, even like if you have to explain it to your partner, if you're in a relationship, you have kids, you need you time to do things that you enjoy. Otherwise, life becomes monotonous, arousal, stress, sympathetic stress, cortisol, all that kicks in, and it just becomes a shit show. So scheduling in a hobby is important for more than just the fact that you're taking some time to be selfish. Like there's a whole list of benefits that come from it. So schedule it in a way that you can enjoy it and not feel guilty about it. And then it's not like a stressor in and of itself when you're trying to relax. The other thing is your hobby something you're trying to build on the side to get away from the thing you're doing now? So, a side business might be a hobby for now that you're hoping to turn into a passion and a career down the track. That takes a different approach. That is something you have to be willing to discuss with yourself about how serious am I taking this? What's the timeline? What's the level of intensity I'm willing to apply to this? Some of us are lucky where our hobbies in line with our passion, our purpose, and our direction. And so you get joy out of the work involved, which reduces stress, which means you aren't finding it complex and hard.
Well, I was going to say, would that then technically be a hobby?
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean? That's like,
to what degree does bodybuilding stop being a hobby and start being a career? Because
if you're making a living off it, right?
Well, I mean, I guess like that's like at the same time.
Yeah, like the transitional period, like I can understand it's probably, venturing from hobby to career.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
hobby in the sense of an enjoyment, a pleasure, a thing that I do for my life that I get to have time off to enjoy. I'm also willing to do some extreme things in that hobby, even though it's more than a hobby, but it's also a hobby. So, it's a gray area, but it's like there's people who argue up until the point of professionalism that it's a hobby.
Yeah.
Okay, it takes a large chunk of my life in that hobby, and it takes up a lot of who I am, but I also enjoy it.
Yeah, well, I guess being professional, I guess versus making income, right? Like you can be semi-professional and make an income, and it's still a career, I guess. Like there are, heaps of athletes and stuff that don't make, the big leagues, but they make the one under and they make a living off it. So it's kind of like, well, I guess is that the same thing? Because it's like, if you're going to use bodybuilding as the example, it's like if you're able to bodybuild, win shows, make money, like that's how you make your money. It's like, going to expos and all that sort of stuff, you get sponsored by a brand who, pays your wage and all that sort of shit. It's like, well, is that actually a hobby or is that a career? Because now you need to do that to continue to make a living.
Yes.
So it's like, you don't have another form of income, like another form of, I guess something else outside bodybuilding, because bodybuilding is now your career, your life. So it's like, is it the same thing? You know what I mean? It's like, or, I don't know. I feel like a hobby would just be something that takes you away or helps you de-stress from whatever it is that you're doing day to day, if that makes
fair way to look at
sense. I don't know. I guess everyone's a bit different, right? But I wonder what the actual definition of a hobby
is. Can you tell us?
Should we Google it?
If you're talking of just a simple relaxation stage to separate yourself from life for a minute and just unwind and zone out, schedule it. That's the one thing I would recommend to. If it's something you enjoy and something you're really interested in and you find fun from, just schedule it. It's not negative to fit some you time into your life. And I think especially when you start getting towards having kids, a fiance, a partner, a wife, girlfriend, whatever, or boyfriend, husband, scheduling some you time to do things away from each other. Personal hobbies that you have, you don't have to fuse into one person and take it on board each other's interests. I think it's important to schedule in some time to do the things that you love to do, because it keeps you and it keeps you happy.
Yeah, totally fair. It's funny. The actual definition: an activity done regularly in one's leisure time for pleasure. Example: her hobbies are reading and gardening.
Cool. That's a hobby.
Good to know. Or if you want to go archaic, it's a small horse or pony. Interesting. Something you learn. You guys are welcome.
There you go.
Yeah. So
we're spitting out all the knowledge at the Bros with Brains podcast.
If you want to, mess someone's head up, be like, yeah, that's a hobby. Like what? Yeah, it's a pony.
All right. Here's a question for you. Just something to sort of like, I guess, finish off with or take it to the next step. What are we, I guess, giving listeners in the future? Are we looking at more questions? Are we keeping things on the brain side? Are we talking to more shit? What do you want to give people?
Very good question. I feel like just talking absolute bullshit and sprinkling in some education every now and then. I feel like this is my hobby. I don't mean my small horse or pony. I mean like my actual like hobby of just being able to talk absolute shit, unwind, dump, and apparently people seem to enjoy us speaking. I don't know why, but hey, we'll go
I had to ask, like, how many people did you pay to respond to that episode the other week?
Dude, honestly, I had that many people share it and stuff. And then honestly, the questions I actually found, because I put up the question box 3 times for this, I found another question box I totally forgot about. There's another 6 questions in there, but I'm like, we'll leave them for another time. Sorry, guys. We're going to be here online.
We'll add to that to the next week.
But I mean, something different. Like we see all these other podcasts where people, sort of talk and stuff, and like they offer information, especially like things like bro chat and all that, which are fucking hilarious. I love those guys, man. It's so funny to listen to, but then they start talking about some of the science and you're like, no. But again, it's not
let's leave that. Leave it to Instagram posts.
Yeah, well, it's not their education, which is totally fine. And that's the first thing that they say. It's like, well, this is my field. It's like, yeah, cool, man. Like, no stress. Shut up. Stop talking about it. Because you're giving it's just that you're giving people wrong information or potentially dangerous information that they're going to listen to, and their following is so big, you're just like, fuck. Whereas like at least with us, if we don't know it, it's just like we're pretty straightforward. Like, I don't know. And if we do know it, well, it's like, yeah, we can talk about it and be like, well, you can go.
I think that'll be the cool part to stay in tune for will be, I guess, as the questions become more specific and get towards us as who we are, our brands, and sort of what we're educated in. We'll start to get down the track of more intellectual questions without piss take responses.
Yeah, it's like I said, just something that's going to be chilled out, I reckon. What do you want? Do you want something that's very formal and educational?
No, I mean, like
No.
I I don't think I can do formal educational in the sense that
Yeah,
like
no.
even me as a person, the more educated I get, I still find that I'm nervous about saying that I'm educated. I still
Yeah,
believe that I don't know a thing.
yeah,
And the imposter syndrome for me is huge. So at best, you'll get from us is like a piss take response of a serious question, but possibly doled out in a serious, in an intellectual way. Like you
yeah.
might get we might give like some of these questions, we'll get a very educational response.
Mm.
But I don't think either of us are serious enough to give it in a way that it's like, well, you see, according to the research, like it's
So
just, it's not going to happen.
I'll put my glasses on, put my lab coat on, and be like, so this
Stroke the
is
beard.
how we go.
Well,
This is how we're
I
going to
just want to
answer
get
this
this to
question.
curl a bit so I can be
Yeah,
like, well, you see.
yeah. Like this is what happens. No, fuck that. But anyway, yeah, I reckon just play it week by week. Let's see what people say and see how much we get abused.
Yeah, let's get a few episodes in before we get cancelled so we can dial it back a bit.
True that. But anyway, my man, I think I'll leave it there. That's been a very well-versed podcast. I think it's been like over an hour, over an hour and a half or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cardio listen if you're being
yeah,
told an extra 5,000 steps.
Or that, or if you're in the bedroom and you need to use something as your gauge for cardio, like just put the podcast on and listen to our soothing voices for an hour and a half. If you can go for an hour and a half, someone fucked up somewhere.
Also, if you're using us to use whilst going on other cardios, let us know because that's great. I don't think I've ever been like used as a background noise. So
that is an audience that we can tap into.
Yep, fucking brilliant. I'm all about that. And if that's what you're using to get into the mood, then fantastic.
By all means, just don't watch the YouTube video because our appearance will not get you going.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to help you get there, but I mean,
no, just the voices. We're faces for radio.
It's very Barry White-ish, I think. So yeah, by all means, let us set the tone.
Yes.
Probably don't watch it.
Just
because
don't watch
it may struggle, and yeah, it's not what you want.
Not at all. Anyway, man, thank you for that. Let's chat soon.
Until next week.
Until next week.
Let's do it again.
Ciao, ciao.